We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
Stacey Abrams isn't just a big-spending, tax-raising liberal. She's an extremist. Abrams campaigned with socialists.
No, actually communist Democrats.
Who endorsed her. Abrams wants government-run health care.
That's Obama, all right.
Taxes. Abrams opposed tougher penalties for those who assault law enforcement officers. Abrams even voted to allow sex offenders to work within 1,000 feet of schools and childcare facilities. Stacey Abrams, too extreme for Georgia.
Goodbye, blue sky. That's basically how it was.
Sitting under a sky that still maintained its brilliant blue, David Brill shares with me a song that reminds him of his darker days.
Blue sky. Get it, run for shelter. Makes me think, getting taken away.
Brill spent more than 2 months in DFAC's custody, and the sheriff arrested his parents after learning they had let him smoke marijuana to treat his seizures. He vividly remembers the first day he tried it. How did it feel?
That's the one night that I actually slept all the way through the night without a seizure.
The fact he remembers is an accomplishment within itself. David suffers from left temporal lobe focal seizures. So instead of causing his body to shake, these seizures cause his behavior to change drastically.
I've thrown desks and books at teachers and chased people with broken scissors.
And when his violent outbursts end, he remembers nothing.
So you're 15, and you have these pockets of your life that you can't
remember. Yeah.
Were you ever afraid of what you might do next?
Sometimes. After I saw the video of me chasing the kid with the broken scissors, yeah.
But until last year, no one understood what was happening. His doctors blamed ADHD or perhaps even autism. Maybe he was just a brat with really bad behavior.
Knowing what you know now, do you think you could have taught those behaviors out of him?
No.
Because the behavior that's present from the seizure is it's not a learned behavior.
Yeah.
It's forced. It's from chemical reactions inside the brain.
Parents turned to marijuana. They first tried the CBD oil accessible to anyone, but it wasn't enough. So they tried to get a medical card to access something stronger.
Couldn't find nobody. Everybody was, oh no, he's a minor, we can't.
So frustrated and desperate, they say they bought what they could, pot, and they say it worked. Brill went 71 days without a seizure before DFACS found out and made him stop. Within hours, he was back in the hospital.
So yeah, that's how that one went.
Sleep, how's your mood improving?
A doctor who heard his story on the news finally helped him get a medical card.
The state made sure that outside vendors, third-party marketers can't find out who's making these recommendations. It's tough, you know. A lot of patients find me after frustration and months of looking online.
He is now...
Tomorrow, one family and one girl's mission to bring understanding and acceptance to transgender children everywhere. For the first time, they will share their story publicly tomorrow on a very special Megyn Kelly Today.
When the Detroit Liberal newspaper on the Sunday before the election said John Engler would lose by 14 points, he won the governorship that year. I don't take polls as seriously as people who've never run for office.
But your
I can tell you.
Your candidate loves them and has touted them from the beginning. And he's been behind in virtually every one out of the last 40 polls that we've seen over the past month. That's the reality.
Look, if you want to assume the election's over, skip the next 2 weeks and we can talk about the future.
I'm not assuming
Fine.
anything. I'm asking you whether you believe your candidate's behind based on these numbers and what it says about the down-ballot races.
I believe the odds are at least 1 in 3 and maybe better than that the difference in intensity and the difference in determination and the degree to which Hillary Clinton is clearly the most corrupt, dishonest person ever nominated by a party all mean that the odds are pretty good she's not going to win. Now, I actually believe that. This is not just because I'm for Donald Trump. I actually believe the American people
let me ask you about
sickened
that.
by this.
So let's assume she is corrupt, right? She was just as corrupt 3 weeks ago and 3 months ago, and she would have been corrupt and collapsing physically on September 11th of this year, and her poll numbers tanked. But then you know what happened. He had a rough first debate. He took the bait on Alicia Machado. He stayed in that trap for a week. The Access Hollywood tape came out, which was not produced by Hillary Clinton. That was Trump on camera talking about grabbing women.
Look, I just heard you go through this with Governor Pence. I get it. I know where you're coming from. But let me point out something to you.
Sure.
The 3 major networks spent 23 minutes attacking Donald Trump that night, and 57 seconds on Hillary Clinton's secret speeches. You don't think this is a scale of bias worthy of Pravda and Izvestia? I mean, you want to know why Donald Trump's had a rough time?
If Trump is a sexual predator, that is...
He's not a sexual predator.
Okay,
you
that's
can't
your
say
opinion.
that.
I'm not taking a position
defend
on
that
it.
statement.
I am not
sick
taking a
and
position
tired
on
of people like you using language that's inflammatory, that's not true.
Excuse me, Mr.
Speaker.
You
Donald
have
Trump
no
was not
idea
this...
whether it's true or not. What we know is that there are at least...
Neither do you.
That's right, and I'm not taking a position on it, unlike
yes, you are. When you use the words, you took a position.
So what
I think
said
it's very
is
unfair of you to do that, Megan.
Incorrect.
I think that is exactly the bias people are upset by.
I think that your defensiveness on this may speak volumes, sir.
No,
what I said
let me just
is...
suggest to you.
No, let me make my point, and then I'll give you the floor. What I said is, if Trump is a sexual predator, then it's a big story. And what we saw on that tape was Trump himself saying that he likes to grab women by the genitals and kiss them against their will. That's what we saw. Then we saw 10 women come forward after he denied actually doing it at a debate to say that was untrue. He did it to me. He did it to me. We saw reporters. We saw people who had worked with him, people from Apprentice, and so on and so forth. He denies it all, which is his right. We don't know what the truth is. My point to you is, as a media story, we don't get to say the 10 women are lying. We have to cover that story, sir.
Sure. Okay, so it's worth 23 minutes of the three networks to cover that story. And Hillary Clinton, in a secret speech in Brazil to a bank that pays her $225,000, saying her dream is an open border where 600 million people could come to America. That's not worth covering.
That is worth covering.
You want to go back through the tapes of your show recently? You are fascinated with sex, and you don't care about public policy.
Me?
Now, that's
Really?
what I get out of watching you tonight.
You know what, Mr. Speaker? I'm not fascinated by sex, but I am fascinated by the protection of women and understanding what we're getting in the Oval Office. And I think the American voters would like to know.
And therefore, we're going to send Bill Clinton back to the East Wing because, after all, you are worried about sexual predators.
Yeah, listen, it's not about me. It's about the women and men of America. And the poll numbers show us that the women of America in particular are very concerned about these allegations and in large part believe that they are a real issue. And
do you want to comment?
Do you want to comment
on whether the Clinton? Do you want to comment on whether the Clinton ticket has a relationship to a sexual predator?
We on the Kelly File have covered that story as well, sir. I will tell you the polls.
I just want to hear you use the words. I want to hear you use the words. Bill Clinton, sexual predator. I dare you. Say Bill Clinton, sexual predator.
Mr. Speaker,
this
we've
barred
covered.
by the Arkansas bar.
Drugs are really fun, aren't they?
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
I made this.
Stunned survivors.